Another part of this migration overhaul is Labor cracking down on so-called ghost houses. Have a listen to Jim Chalmers. He spoke to Sky News this morning and gave some details on what the government intends to do.
It's about boosting housing stock and getting more homes onto the rental market. First of all, tripling foreign investment fees for established homes, then doubling the vacancy fee for homes owned by foreigners.
All right, so they're going to crack down, Evelyn, on foreigners owning residential properties in Australia. We've got a housing crisis. Is that going to fix the problem?
No, but I definitely agree with it, to be honest. I take a stand of I don't think any foreigner should be able to purchase residential. And I think Pauline Hanson said this back in June, probably got crucified, but I actually think she had a little bit of wisdom with that. I think that there should be very, very strict regulations, policies and all sorts of things to prevent foreigners, because all it does is create more problems for Australian citizens. And like I said before, we're always sacrificing the well-being and prosperity and even just basic necessities of your everyday Australian citizens for foreigners. And I'm sick of
Evelyn, you nearly got there and then you backed away from it. What we've got to say is no foreigners can own domestic property in Australia. None. You can't buy domestic property in China or in Singapore or many other countries. Now, this is why this is half-baked and it's not nearly enough. What they should be doing is they should be saying from such and such a date, we bring down legislation, no foreigners are allowed to own domestic property in Australia. Any foreigners who do will have to dispose of their property. What happens? Flood of new housing comes onto the market, huge amount, pushes the prices down, and you've actually made a dent in the housing problem. And you've made Australia a fairly normal country that doesn't allow foreigners to buy. It doesn't matter whether they're empty or they've got someone in them. Foreigners shouldn't own them. They should be back on the market.
So that makes perfect sense to me. But, Joe, why haven't they gone the whole hog with this?
Well, I don't think they need to. And to be honest, I'm very much a sort of quietly, pragmatically, practically, just doing things in baby steps, seeing if it works, seeing if there are any unintended consequences you haven't thought through. I think the fact that everyone supports this policy and their only criticism is it doesn't go far enough, again, just shows what a great weekend it was in terms of just sheer spin and I think substance as well. But the good old 1-2 punch of, cut down on migration on Saturday, front page of the Saturday Telegraph, and then we're going to stop foreigners from being able to have empty houses in Australia on page 1 of the Sunday Telegraph.
And don't forget,
that is, I can't wait to see what they've got on the Monday Telegraph because they could get the hat trick. But yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's a really it's a solution that sounds really simple. Whether it actually solves the problem, I mean, a lot of these houses are mansions in Sydney's eastern suburbs, for example. So whether all these mansions will suddenly become 20-room share houses, have Neil from the Young Ones pulling bongs in the front room under the chandelier.
Joe, why not go all the way? Why not go all the way and say we're not just going to jack up the taxes?
Well, I think they'll see how this goes and then they may well go further. I imagine there are probably concerns. Certainly there's a cohort of the community that wants house prices to stay up, i.e. homeowners who are mortgaged up to the hilt and can't afford for their only real big asset to go down in value. Otherwise, you see what happened in the US with the subprime mortgage crisis, which was a sort of double whammy. And I suspect you want to sort of encourage investment as well. Part of the reason we have a housing shortage is because while COVID shut down the entire country and we had no one coming in, all the constructors, all the big housing developers said, well, we're not going to build any more houses because no one's coming in. Suddenly, the economy opens up. You've got everyone wanting stuff again, and you've got massive skills shortages because there's not enough people coming in to do the jobs, and of course then you have this massive housing crunch because no houses have been built for the migrants that we're now talking about. So that would be part of the reason, I imagine.